Islam.
Ah,
Islam. We're here for the session that we have called Rethinking Black History. So in Rethinking Black History, it's basically about introducing different information and the regular information, being that it's Black History Month. Secondly, to also do the best that we can to pretty much eradicate Black History Month and make it something new, right? Because if Black History Month is ours and that's our culture and our time or whatever, then we're that 24 hours, 48, the full works, right? So today's first presentation is by Brother Tesba Sarbe. He's been active member in the temple. So the purpose of us doing a lot of these things too is also to allow the Moors to present what they themselves are doing in their studies, right? Which is also to inspire others that they can also step up. And once we have something to present or something to give to the family, that we bring it forward and we're always open. So round of applause for Brother Tesba.
Right, just to set the tone, if you want to just observe, if you want to participate, we'll rise and give honor. So those who wish, rise, five on the left, two on the right. Give honor to the forerunner, the Honorable Mark Darby. We'll give honor to all African Moors here in the northwest gate, all over northwest of Mexico. Rise and give honor to the Prophet of Ali. Ashe. Ashe. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah that guide, protection, and salvation, by night and by day, Holy Prophet, through Ali. Amen. Islam. Okay. So I sort of put my lecture together very recently. I got an idea of what Adis is going to present. That's going to be enticing. I'm going to like that. And I have an idea of what Cujo is going to speak on. So I also know that, having the building is open, there's a lot of new people coming in, especially just off the street. So just to give a good intro and give a primer, for what we're going to present. I'm going to go over some concepts in etymology and linguistics, the study of language. So, can you read us the definition of the word etymology? So, Brother Omar here has the older English language dictionary. And when we do in these classes, we study civics. Civics meaning the study of civilization. And the basic concepts and rules that any civilization needs to run. Right? And then everything that generates from there. The bylaw is the concept that you can't park on a particular street at a certain time of day. It's subordinate to the concept that there's a common law and everyone has human rights. But if you lose track of the priorities, if you lose track of the common law, the higher laws, then these lower laws can become binding. They can become an obstruction to your life. Right? And it's to have a proper mindset. In order to have a proper mindset, you have to know how to proper live. So we're going to go into these terms, go into the English language and what it really is, where it comes from. Just touch on some things.
Etymology?
Yes.
Okay, etymology, noun plural, is the origin and historical development of a word as evidenced by study of its basic elements. Earliest known use and changes in form and meaning, semantic derivation and evolution. 1. An account of the history of a specific word. 2. 3. The branch of linguistics that studies the derivation of words learned with respelling or Middle English. from Old French, from medieval Latin, etymology, from Latin, etymology that goes into the different, sort of from the different, I guess, Latin, Greek, and how they're pronounced.
Okay. So we have this concept that etymology is the study of the root of the word, right? And the derivation, you said, right?
Right.
The reason is, part of the reason why that is the concept of just part of it, the black, the word black, using that word. Using other words, Negro, right? Colored. As we say, things that allude to slavery, right? But the reason is because it does not allude to the actual heritage of the people. And we know that when we go into the word and study the word, right? We're not just going into the study of the word, right? There's a misconcept that a lot of people have even more about that because you have a word, right? And it's in English, that it has no meaning to you, right? Because you don't connect with that language. But the real concept that we have to get in our heads is the concept that it's not about the word, it's about the sound, right? They call these meanings, right? So in grammar, you sometimes call it phonetic, or breaking things up into syllables, right? In linguistics, a meme is synonymous with a syllable. It's like just a piece, just a sound, right? We have this concept that the sound, if it's a different language, then the sound's going to change, right? So it's the same word, you're going to have different sounds and people are going to say things differently. But if the languages are related, chances are they're going to sound the same. The words are going to sound the same. So I touched on grammar. So the definition of grammar.
Okay, grammar. Grammar, noun. The study of language as a systematically composed body of words and exhibit wait, hold on. The study of language as a systematically composed body of words that exhibit discernible regularity of structure, morphology, and arrangement into sentences, syntax, sometimes including such aspects of language as the pronunciation of words, phonetics, phonology, brackets, the meaning of words, semantics, in brackets, and the history of words, etymology. That's number one. Two, the phenomena with which the study seeks to be dealt as exhibited by a specific language at a specific time. That's 2A. 2B, the system of rules implicit in a language, viewed as a mechanism for generating all sentences possible in that language. 3, a normative or prescriptive system of rules setting forth the current standard of usage for pedagogical or reference purposes. 4, writing or speech judged with regard to the rules of practice of grammar, bad grammar in italics. 5, a book containing morphologic, syntactic, and semantic rules for specific language. And then in italics, we find clear sentences in our school grammars because their authors know little about the English language. And that was, I guess, an example. 6, the basic principles of any area of knowledge.
Do we have the root of grammar in the very beginning? Okay, grammar. So, about grammar, and grammar touched on
Etymology.
it includes semantics, right, the meaning of the words, etymology, the root of words, right, and phonetics, right. So, can you look up phonetics?
Phonetics. Phonetics. Okay, here we go. Phonetics. Noun. Plural. In form used with a singular verb. Okay, hold on. phonetics, the branch of linguistics dealing with the study of the sounds of speech, their production, combination, description, and representation by written symbols. 2. The system of sounds of a particular language.
Okay. So phonetics now, the concept of the sound, like I said, the meaning, M-E-N-E, right? And how those sounds are made in your mouth, right? There are certain reasons why people say things certain way. There are certain reasons why children say things certain way, right? A child is gonna have a list if they don't have to. And then if you have a child who's starting to learn a language that no longer is able to continue learning from the person teaching, they grow up saying things incorrectly because they're not given that reinforcement, right? So this is how we really study history, right? By studying language. You go and you take a course in history, you're not really studying history. You're studying story, symbology, right? And this is the way courses are run, right? Well, they'll tell you that. It's not that anything's being hidden, it's that you have to have the concept in your mind, the retrospective of what am I really getting into? Okay? You want to know what really happened, study language. You can dig up all the rocks and all the artifacts you want, but language does not lie. Okay? So you spoke on phonetics, right? Phonetics comes from the Phoenicians, right? The reason we know that, like I said, language does not lie. When we look at languages, and we say, well, English is a language, French is a language. Are they languages? Yes, no? Yeah. So what is the script of English? Exactly. Yeah. What are the letters? How do you write English? Yeah, the A, the alphabet, right? The alphabet, right? Okay. But so English people created that script, right? Mm-hmm. Well, no. Okay, so who created that script? When you write French, what script do you use? What's the French script? How do you write in French? Roman, Greek, Phoenician, right? So you're saying that these people, right, the Phoenicians, had their own script. And all these languages are borrowing that script. Because Hindi has its own script. Cantonese has its own script. Right? But Vietnamese, full languages having their own script as well. These tongues don't actually have their own script. Okay? So even when we say, oh, you're speaking English, that's slave master language, or that's not, I want to learn. No. It's all from the same script. And if you go back to Latin, right? Because most of the words we look up, what do we find? Root is Old English, going back to French, and then going back to Latin. Old English, going back to German, going back to Latin. Right? What is Latin? Right? Definition.
Latin. Adjective. Relating to Latin. Latium is people or its culture. Number 1. 2. Relating to ancient Rome is people or its culture. 3. Relating to or composed in the language of ancient Rome and Latium. 4. Of or referring or relating to those countries or people using Romance language, especially the countries of Latin America. 5. Of or relating to the Roman Catholic Church, as distinguished from the Eastern Orthodox Church. And it says now, and then it goes on to something else, I think Latin.
So we touched on other having to do with the ancient Roman Empire. Okay? Where did the ancient Roman Empire come from? Right? How did it start? It started as a republic, right? 500 years of republic to 500 we know is what? Government rule by the people for the people. Right? Okay, so what we do know is that we talk about a government ruled by the people for the people. We also find that when you go into law, all the terms are in one language. Okay. So
I just wanted to interrupt this. What's interesting to is not only the words that you find, but the words you don't find. Often Latin isn't in here, right? So a lot of that stuff sometimes I find is descriptive, or not descriptive, it indicates what they want to tell you and what they don't want you to know.
that's why the older dictionary, the better, right?
There's even words in the black law that when they give the translation to the line. So you can't even get the English translation.
Now, if you do some research, you'll find that there was at the same time of this Roman Empire, there are these people called the Phoenicians, right? In fact, before the Roman Empire, and these people are said to have founded this colony that became the Republic of Rome. Now, when we look into the Phoenicians, we find them here on this edge, the eastern edge of the Mediterranean Sea, right? Modern day Palestine, Israel, as some will call it, right? Lebanon. In those days, in the Bible, what is it called? What is that place called? Canaan, right? Canaanland. The Canaanites, the Moabites, the Amorites, they would all, this was their homeland back in those days. In the 101, right, it says that we are, as Moors, we are Moabites, Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites. These are our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Okay? So this is a rich heritage that we have, that we created this script that spread. And perhaps even this concept of republic and a certain way of running government, right, that was adopted, right, and used up until this day. Also, when we talk about Phoenicians, we know that where we are here on this map, we're very close to another ancient empire, right, ancient Kemet, right. And the prophet speaks of the ancient pharaohs, right, giving permission to the Canaanites, Moabites, Hittites, and Amorites to traverse, right, and inhabit these lands here. Right?
You know, it's interesting just to interrupt that, moving further on, and Latin, wrote down Latin. Lat, also a native or resident of ancient Latium. Latium is a place.
Yeah, so we can find that. But what we'll do now, when we talk about Egypt or ancient Kemet, right, there's this concept also that this is Kemet. Okay? The Mississippi is the ancient Nile, right? And you have Canaanland where we are now. You have Mecca, Chicago, Illinois, right? The Mississippi runs up into Illinois, right? So we have, and it's the same valley, it's the same concept, right? Very, very similar. So now we have to ask ourselves, we have this concept of east and west and this confusion, right? And north and south. So what do? Well, for me, I went back into east and west, north and south, and what are they? Where do they come from, right? And how did we refer to these places back in the day? They suck. What's another way of saying east? Or in the east, eastern part of the world. Yeah. No. It is where the sun rises, but a word to describe the east. What another way of someone from Asia? Someone from Asia. Yeah, another way of Orient. Okay, so what? Orient. So Orient was a way that you would say east, right? In fact, the word Orient, or as abbreviation, you use Orient. Okay, back in the day. Ok was west. Okay, occidental. Set is north, right? And Mer was south. So here you have, okay, if you look on this map, you can see America, right? And then you see under here, Septentrionalis. Hard to see, but so right on this map we have America Septentrionalis. The meaning of Septentrionalis, right? It comes from this concept of what? It's a constellation. Constellation in the sky. The Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Right? In particular, the Little Dipper. Septentrionalis means 7 cloud options. Each of these constellations you have 7 stars. Right? And one of the stars in the Little Dipper is the North Star. What is the North Star? Like what? America? I think yes. That's right. Star. Okay. So this brother says that America is named after a star. Right? We'll go into another concept of the root in just a moment. Right? Let's get to that star, the North Star. What is it about the North Star different from other stars? Stays on the north. It's a pole star. Stays in the north. So as the procession goes, as the constellations move around, the North Star is always in the roundabout the same position, and it stays that way for hundreds of years. Right? So if you can find that star, then you know where north is. Right? And we're going to touch on that concept of slaves coming to themselves and using the North Star to traverse. Okay? Using one of these Django together. Alright, so I'm going to try to find my photos again. But you mentioned America, right? The name of America. Where does it come from? We're talking about words again, right? Well, we say, right, that we're in Morocco right now. This land is Morocco, right? So if it's Morocco, then what is the root of Morocco? Where does that word come from? Morocco, right? Mer, M-R, right? And vowels are interchangeable. It could also be more, M-O-R, right? Okay. When we say we're as Moors, we know that, again, we go back to sound. It's not the spelling, right? It's the sound that gives the word its root and meaning, right? So the M-R sound, right? You find that all over the world. In Germany, M-O-H-R, right? In New Zealand, right? In Papua New Guinea, M-O-U-R, right? In England, M-O-O-R. And certain people's names, M-O-O-R-E. Okay? This name is synonymous with, as we say, the original people or dark skinned people with woolly hair, or anybody, right, with dark hair. Right? So Morak breaks down to more, and then what about Ak? And where is Morocco? West. Okay, west of what? Okay, continent that we call Africa, right? And if you know that in Arabic, right, a certain title given to things is al. So if you're referring to Morocco, you can say al Morocco, right? So al Morocco is in fact another way of saying America. Okay? And speaking of the original names, right? We also call ourselves the people, right? We've been traveling around from, as the prophet said, Canaanites, Moabites, Amorites, and Asiatics, right? So they've been traveling and they got permission to settle here. And when they were in ancient Canaanland, right, from the map that I showed, that area was known as what? Or is known as what? Right? Middle East. Right? So the Middle East is a vague term, right? The correct term is Asia Minor, right? So we have to bring back the proper perspective, right? Middle East means nothing. How can it be Middle East? East is east, west is west. There's no Middle East, right? It's Asia Minor, right? There's no European. The European is a corporation. They're Caucasian because now we're all Asiatics, Caucasian, all part of the same family, right? To say European is to say because you have people from Asia Minor, you could be from Asia Sur, Asia North, you can be an Asiatic in America. But if you're European, you no longer are connected with that Asiatic, right, tree of human beings. The earth itself is once called Asia. As things broke up, then you use new words, right? But the proper words have proper meaning, right? So either you're from Asia North, Asia Sur, Asia Minor, Eurasia, or modern day Europe, right? Eurasia, or Australia, or a Mexican, Northwestern Mexican, Southwestern Mexican.
We see that separates Europe from the entire Europe from Asia. Because you don't geographic landmass or long.
Brother mentioned it's a river. So in other words, the plate that Europe sits on, right, Eurasia sits on, is not separate from the African tectonic plate. So it cannot be a separate continent. Right?
Well, a continent is something that is surrounded by a body of water.
It's not.
It's not a continent.
And has,
Asia, part
that's
of
right.
Asia North.
That's right.
And that's what it was known as before as well, on the map.
So I want to wrap up, but I'm trying to get out of here. Anybody have Windows 8? It sucks. Cal, I'm dying. Not even working. Yeah, I'm trying to get out of Windows 8, yo. I'm trying to get out of this crap, yo. Like, I'm trying to get back to my folder that I have my pictures in. That's not it. Yeah, what's going on? I just want to get back to my folder. My God. Okay. Okay. My God. Okay. So when we talk about my God, okay, when we talk about Morocco, right? We say that this is the flag of our ancient no, not this flag. This is the flag of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, right? The never-ending green star on the red land, right? And that is the flag of the kingdom of Morocco today. Right? Here you have Drew Ali showing this same flag and the banner, right? Showing that these two jurisdictions existing on the same land. Oh, man. And this North Star with Ursa Minor, right? And Ursa Major. This is a really old, well not really, 1500s, from the tree of Tordesillas. And if you look, you can see on this map where you have Canis Orientalis, you see there? Oh, see it on the wall there. Here you have Mar Barbarius, or Oceanus, Western Ocean, right? Here you have Mar Oceanus, Western Ocean. Eastern, yeah. Orientalis, Eastern Ocean, right? Oceanus, Western, or Occidentalis, Western, right? Over there.
So what kind of Oriental would mean like western side of east, like if you got Orient and what kind of the same thing.
Where was that?
The first one you showed us.
Oh, sorry. The first one.
Canis Orientalis.
Sorry, no. The first one, Oceanus, Orientalis, so Eastern Ocean, and then Western Ocean, Southern. Where is it? There we go. Oceanus, Indias, Meridionalis. You can't. It's by the American flag there. But, so this map, basically, this map was a map that was used for the Treaty of Tordesillas, a treaty between Portugal and Spain to divide up the Moorish Empire all around the world, right? And although, again, there's a concept of digging up truth and digging up facts and figures, but just take a minute and think about how and when in history would two small little kingdoms literally be able to chop up almost all the world on most of the coastline. Very little inland, if you look at the map, right? Simply because they just discovered it, right? We have to have this concept of both using common sense and using the basic elemental facts and figures, like the sounds of words, the basic sound particle, and work from there, right? You have a more complicated fact and figure, okay, cool. If you can verify it, fine, right? But when you start from the fundamentals and the elementals, things become very clear and very easy to understand, right? So we look at this map and we see here, these are all coastal areas, right? The Moors, or the Mares, the people of the sea, right? The mariners, the mariners, right? You have these outposts where they trade and feed the world, right? And their industry, their economy goes to a level where now it gets taken over. And these two kingdoms create a treaty to split up and divide, right? One flag represents the Portuguese, one flag represents the Spanish. Okay? And slowly, both before that, at that period, that point of 1492, And continuing after that, you have this breaking down of an economy, a concept of how things are done in trade and commerce, right? To where now it's the ships still go back and forth, right? Planes still go back and forth, but how is it done, right? Who profits and how efficient is it, and what is the end result? I guess. So if the next lecture is ready, right? So with just from that, how that ties into what we do, like I said, we study law, we study civics, right? Civics being the fundamentals of civilization, right? This was civilization, this concept that you might need sugar, right? And you might not be able to grow sugar, and you might need a medicine, you might not have it, somebody might die. In order to get the medicine, you have somebody coming on a boat, bringing it from across the ocean, right? So you have laws and rules. You have maritime law, right? You have common law, domestic law, law of the land, right? And from there, you build, right? So you study these laws in order to know how to traverse and how to navigate in order to keep yourself protected, right? But also in order to thrive, right? In whatever trade that you do. So, any questions? And it's everywhere, trust me. Look at Timberland and Timberlake. One's on the water, one's on the land. One's a Moor, one's Caucasian. Right? Games being played all the time. Timberland and Timberlake, right? So you know. Alright, it's on, family. Thanks. Right, Brother Omar. You didn't get to the black right there, but no. It's a primer.
Yeah, just a primer. Anybody got the there? All right. So before we bring up the next presenter, want to just bring people's attention to what's going on here. This is the first Moor Science Temple of America in Canada. Between 1913 and 1929, when Noble Drew Ali passed form, there was talks that he was supposed to come here to do lectures, he was supposed to come here to implement his program here through a man by the name of Oscar Bruton and a lady by the name of Leona Miller, who changed her name to Madame Bruton after she married Oscar Bruton. So the idea and the concept that Noble Drew Ali sparked in the 1900s is manifested right now, right? The benefit that we have being here is that when we when we take what Noble Jolly brought, when we take it serious and actually start implementing the things that he brought to us, we'll start to see progress, etc., amongst our people, right? So one of the main things that he came to tell us was that we're not Negro, black, colored people, but then we come to this month and then everybody's black. Even the people who say that they're not black, they become categorized in this time frame called Black History Month, right? So what we're wanting to do is put the pieces to the shattered mirror back together again, so that our perspective, like when we say Black history, we know that our perspective doesn't go into anything not universal. When we say Black history, we're not stopping at slave trade and we came over here on slave ship and then that's it, right? Black history has to include everything across the planet, right? But Black history can't include everything across the planet, because when you talk to everybody across the planet, they don't know what Black history is. Like, it doesn't exist to people across the planet. And we build with people, especially when we got feathers on. We build with people from all walks of life, from all different types of nationalities. And 80 to 90% of the nationalities that we talk to, they don't know what Black people are. Like, it's something absent in their consciousness. Like, it's something that doesn't exist to them. If you talk to them, they don't know what that is. If you ask them, what's Black people? I don't know what that is. Right? Because for them, it's a status. Right? It's not a nationality. There's no connection. Black's not connected to anything. Right? The only thing that it is connected to is death. But if you ask Black people that, they're going to deny it and tell you, that that's not the case. But if I give them some black water to drink, they're going to turn it down. If I give them black fruits to eat, they're going to turn them down. If I give them some, if we roll a rotten corpse up in here, right? Even though that rotten corpse is black, they'll tell you that that's an ancient Egyptian, or that's an ancient Sumerian, or that's a Phoenician, or whatever. Even though it's black, they unwrap the mummy and it's a black thing sitting there, black person. They still don't call it black. They'll call it based on its national origin, or where they found the body, right? Which is connecting back to the land again, right? So looks ready. All right. So we're gonna bring up the Grand Vanguard to come and where you playing from? We're gonna bring up the Grand Vanguard to come and speak now on, or not even speak, but to present what his research that he's done, right? Because again, the members in this temple, not just the people that are coming up and speaking, but also the people that sit where you people sit, all of them are active outside of here. Like they're not Moors here, and then when they go outside, they're black and doing black stuff and getting into black stuff, right? If you speak the majority of all these other groups, right? They're conscious when they're around their group, but then when they leave the group, they're showing licenses, and they're showing SIM cards and health cards and all that. Not that anything's wrong with those things, right? But if you don't know how to live within contracts, and you're claiming to be, Shaka Zulu or whatever, around the family, but then when you go to CRA, you're not reserving your rights. You're using that same slave name that in the meeting yesterday, everybody was saying, oh yeah, forget the slave names, kill a cracker or whatever, right? But then when the crackers get down and they start doing stuff, nobody's killing anybody. Everybody's tight-lipped. Everybody's hush-hush. That's That's right there is black history. That's black people. They have no honor, they have no respect for themselves or anybody else, and they continue to want society or humanity to accept that stateless position that they have, right? They expect people to accept that ward of the crown position that they take, and that if we don't assist them, we're against them or we're against, right? When everybody's against that across the planet. You ask anybody across the planet about black people. What do you think about black people? And they give you list of why they don't want to do nothing with black people. Now test it out yourself. Let's go to stores out here. Because we have a multicultural society here that we're blessed with. You go to all those stores, to all those different people, and ask them, in your country, what do you call people like me in your country? And they will tell you, they won't tell you black people. Don't believe me? Check it out. Right? I'm looking.
We just, I think we have to upgrade the outlet PowerPoint, so it's almost updated. You wanna do get ready?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I kind of need this one too.
Yeah, get the. You think it's ready?
All right, let me just get the screen set up proper.
Yeah. I think it was more about bringing this one to the center. So you can do that. Oh, okay. Okay, yo, peace everyone. Give thanks for coming. My 2 cents I wanted to drop in there. Hopefully, take this into consideration. This could be used next event or whatever. So the spirit of how we have things in the temple is, you see something that's going down, you do the research, you present it.
It's always been connected to your computer, but now it's also.
Because the reason why we're doing this is to get information that's not in the mainstream, not talked about or heard about, and presenting it to people. Like that's an art in itself, because there's actually a force out there that's actually trying to stop that. And they're actually trying to stop the message from coming from point A and distorting it by the time it gets to point B. So the point of this lecture is we're going to dissect the movie Django. Okay? There has been the most mixed reviews about that movie. Alright? I found it so interesting because when I went inside, I had a different opinion than everybody. And then everyone had a different opinion from each other. So this told me to go back, let's go do the research again. And I recognized one thing. If I would have watched the movie 5 years ago, I would have saw something totally different, or I wouldn't have saw probably 90% of the jewels that were dropped in that movie. But before we go on, I want to genuinely hear your people's honest opinion or honest reviews on the movie Django. There's no right or wrong answer, but the assignment is to learn from the experience and to see that there isn't a necessity for people to come together and discuss specific topics. Now, movies can be used as a point of reference, like a book. It doesn't even so much matter what it is, it's just we're using that as the reference to start a dialogue and get deeper into a topic that is usually the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. Right? So, Moorish Science Temple, you can count on addressing these particular things. Before we go on, I just wanted to, since I'm stalling, right? I give appreciation personally to the Moors of this territory, which means everyone, because it took a collective of people to come together to get this building, to get all the information presented as far as we've gotten so far. Since 2007, 2008, after Cujo, the Grand Sheik, and the assistant went to Chicago and got the charter, since then we've been growing at a rapid speed that Moors all over the planet are looking at us and actually seeing an example that we're setting for the rest of the planet. And we're not
being egotistical, because at the same time, we haven't even scratched the surface compared to the fight that we're in as a people. But this assignment in dissecting Django is the perfect example of what we're going through. Considering it's Black History Month, and last year we did same thing. We did like a marathon for the whole month. What we did was doing our job to clear the misconceptions of what Black history or Black people's history is, which we know there is no such of a people. So we're going to get into topics like this where we're going to use Django as a point of reference so that and you're going to see that this is what Masons know and are showing you in your face about you, but they have a science behind it because it's about hiding things in plain sight. The Masonic secret is that the info is in plain sight, but they're hiding it. And that reminds us of who we are.
That goes back to black magic because black magic have rules. The spelling black magic does not work unless you show the person clear line. Spell what you're doing. If you don't understand what you're showing them, all you have to do is show it. It's cryptic or not.
Nice.
If you throw it from back on you like 7 times.
Nice.
That's part of the laws of black magic. That's why they do that.
Ashe. Just to qualify what you're saying, everything is done on contract. In the universe, everything is done on an agreement. Like he was just saying, black magic only works if the party agrees. If there's a medium in which the person agrees to, then it slips through. Same thing as we always say in self-defense. Soon as your arm drops after the job, if you don't bring it back here, wow, that's when you're getting in. You can't blame them. They're just doing what you would do if you were in that position. Right? You agreed to the contract of the competition. Everything is in contract. Should I just get my laptop?
No. Well,
Yeah, and then we just put that in. Yeah. All right. So again, reviews. Anyone hand up or just go on and speak. Your personal review on Django. Doesn't matter what it is. Stupid. Cool. A waste of my time. Whatever it is. Yeah, everything's on here.
I personally think that it was propaganda.
Okay. Let's remember. I remember what I said. There's no wrong answer. We're going to use that as a point of reference so that for the other people who also feel that way. Because they have every right to feel that way. But, again, this is all opinions. But what I'm going to bring up today is we're going to go into actual things and let's see if we have the same opinion after. Let's just see. Even if you loved it, let's see if you have the same opinion after. I see X.
yeah.
Yeah, and for the record, I don't think I've done this enough. I don't know why. I think because the brother is humble. But on behalf of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we thank Exodus Movement for his energies and efforts in supporting us throughout all the years. Yeah, all right. So, I'm here. Please. And how do you go here, right? All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to change it back. Resolution. Thanks for your patience. As I go along with this stuff, I'll be more prepared before you even come. Maybe this is a good time to say, Monday to Friday, martial arts class available upstairs. Right? No. Not yet.
US this take this and gave it out.
Yes. That's what it was. The second from the top. AV. Now, second from the top. Or third. Okay. Yeah, it is third. Yeah. Bam, bam, bam. All right. Okay. Can we see? Islam. Okay. Islam Moors. Hotep Moors. How do you say hello in Espanol? Hola, moro. You see the concept? Bonjour, morai. So it doesn't matter what language we speak, the science and the concept is the same as you remain this one and the same. Keep that in mind always. Rethinking Black History Month. Technologics Lecture Series, the Moorish Science Temple of America at our new headquarters. Today is the February 3rd event, and we're dealing with, can you prove you're not Moors? Question, we will prove you're not black. That's what we're going to do here. Next, please. We are going to break this down. Okay? There's a reason why I'm going to go dissect some little things. Alright? So, at the same time, if you see anything, you're part of this interactive lecture. That word? Yeah, you're part of this. This will not be so much of a success until you participate. Okay, so whether you said your opinion out loud, for those who saw it, you have your opinion in your mind of what that movie meant to you. Now, let's see what this movie meant to the world. When children watch this movie, not even now, but in the future, when they're by themselves watching it, or after they watch it, does anybody talk about what they just watched? So sometimes these images are boggling through children and teenagers in our own heads, but we're not talking about it. And I think that was the purpose. That was a science put behind this movie. All right, there was a lot of things that came out, but if you are not emotionally, no, let me rephrase that. If you cannot process it, because there are emotional things thrown at you to steer you the next way. And then there's jewels dropped right after. So be careful. And what the Moors are teaching, and what the Moors movement, the Moors divine and national movement is bringing to the table, has taken over the planet. You saw Hidden Colors the other day? That dude was never in Moor science. But it's something that's showing you the common knowledge of people have risen because of brothers like and sisters like ourselves keeping this science alive. Right? Django, who? What's the first thing that came to your mind when you heard that word Django or seen that word Django? Or even saw the trailer? What's the origin of the word Django? Wow. It's actually a Latin, Spanish / gypsy word or title, meaning I now see. So keep that in mind. All right? Next. Mind you, this is Quentin Tarantino who made this movie. Go back 1 second. This back arrow. So there was in I think 78, if I'm not correct, there's already Django movies out there. They're country westerns. Right? There's a whole series of them. Right? And the character that Django plays is always a similar type character. Now, then there's a movie called Sukiyaki Western Django. It's actually an Asian martial art film done in the Americas, and Quentin Tarantino's in it. Keep that in mind. Next. Columbia Pictures. The reason why I put this up is to let you know who's behind this. Magicians. Some of the top musicians this planet has ever produced, except for the ancients, right? Now, this is not the Statue of Liberty. I recently learned or was reminded, and I can't remember exactly the name and whom this represents, and I'm asking, does anyone in the room know whom this is? Right. She represents ISIS, but this is a symbol of, I'm going to find out exactly. No one in here knows right now. Okay, it has to do with something to do with illumination. And dealing, so the so-called Illuminati or the powers that be or the elite are using this as a symbolism to their enlightenment. So they're saying they're enlightened. So they're now projecting images to a non-enlightened crowd. That's where they're coming from. Next, please. All right. Darn, you can't really see that well. Okay. This is a clip of the movie that pretty much starts out. Okay, no, this is a slave movie. Okay, it's a typical slave movie, probably the most popular one of nowadays. And it starts out with a German man rolling through, for those who didn't see, rolling through, and he stops right in front of these two slavers who are walking, trekking slaves through the forest. Now, you notice he's in a carriage and there's a big tooth. He's just traveling around with this big tooth. He never mentions in the movie that he's a dentist or anything like that. But he does introduce himself as Dr. Schultz. Is that a wisdom tooth? I don't know. But who is not born in the Americas? Hands, please. Have you ever heard of wisdom teeth where you were born? No. This is a phenomenon that only happens in the Americas. Check it out. Next. He stops them. He inquires for two slavers. They say, who wants to know? He's like, oh, okay. I just want to talk with you. So he ends up talking with them a little bit. They're sussing him out. He then asks the slaves, is any one of you from the Sutton plantation? I don't remember the exact name that he meant. Next. Django says, I am. Now, if you're not paying attention from, most movies, the biggest clue is right at the beginning. What happened in this next scenario is what Moors are trying to teach you on how to deal with conflict and how to deal with the police or peace officers or policy enforcers or how to defend yourself, how to stand your square, know where you are when it comes to situational awareness. Are you being attacked? When can you defend yourself? What happened in this scene was he jumped out, and questioned them. He was questioning them. Who are you? He was questioning them they were questioning him. He said he wants to buy Django because Django is from a plantation and I can identify some people that he's looking for because he's a bounty hunter. Okay? So he's looking for some outlaws. And Django's the only one who can identify them. So he wants to buy Django from them. They're like, F you, we're not selling. And hold the gun up to him, as he's doing right there. I'm sorry you can't see. But he's holding a gun. This brother, right, thank you. He's holding a gun right there, pointing it at him. He calmly turns to him and says, are you just getting a little carried away, or are you threatening to shoot me? He says calmly to the man on the horse. The man on the horse is like, I told you to get out of here or I'm going to shoot you. So then he goes, okay. He's quick on the draw. He ends up shooting him dead. And then his brother, who's sitting on another horse, he shoots the brother in the leg, and then the horse falls. And then right there. So this man, brother, is dead. He's on the horse, he's alive, and he's yelling and screaming. He's like, what'd you do that for? You just shot my brother. He makes sure, he goes to them, hold on. I only shot your brother because your brother was threatening to kill me. And I only shot you because I needed you to get some time to come to your senses again. Because he was about to then shoot him in defense of shooting his brother. And then he sits there and he's looking at him and he goes, and I can attest to 5 witnesses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what he's doing is making sure that not only he defends himself, but that he can articulate it. Knowing the law is key. And this is what Drawley came to remind us, to bring us back. And this is what we're doing as Moors. This is our duty to bring law back into the forefront of everything. Just like spirituality. Ma'at is everything. Ma'at is in everything. And Ma'at represents love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, reciprocity, everything. Balance. You understand? Law. Bringing it back into the forefront. So if you know the rest of this movie, you better pay attention to every term because it's actually teaching you something. Or it's showing what they know. And that if we're not at that level yet, that's how bad it is. Is that someone who's oppressing you could talk about this because it's not a threat. Because this is actually basic. Sorry, I'm not mean to scare anyone or anything like that, but it is standard knowledge that everyone on the planet understands nationality and birthrights except for North Americans. South Americans understand it. Ask Hugo. Ask Castro. That's what they're doing. Anyway, please continue. Then, one of my most favorite parts. Right at the beginning, you notice he's pointing up. He then turns to the 4 more that are sitting there, and he says to them, you can do a couple of things. You could take the gun, go shoot that guy, and bury him, and go find a more enlightened area of the country. His words. The more enlightened area of the country to live. Or you can pick him up and drive back to the town, 7 miles or something like that, and whatever. Or, for you astronomy efficient, the North Star is that way. That ring a bell? Does that touch a button? Because it should. The whole point of the North Star is so that they can get to Canaanland, where you stand. So that maybe they could sit in this room or a room like this with us today with the knowledge.
Wow.
The North Star, and then there's more info on the North Star. Anyway, the Underground Railroad, the whole thing about the North Star, the whole thing about on their way to Canaanland. Alright, Canaanland is actually a specific place in the north, which is here. Drawley started the old Canaanite temple. There's a message, there's something going on that they're projecting. But some of us by now have already been like, I don't like this. This is just, like, you know what I'm saying? I understand, but we got to get to a level where we're mature enough to actually control the emotions. Next, please. Now, Django go back. Just to show you that this man kept the law the whole time. He didn't steal Django from them, even though they're dead. He paid for them, made a proper bill of exchange, and then told Django to go take the dead brother's clothes off his body so he can have something to wear. And still peeled off money and threw it at the dead body to buy the clothes. Because this man is a bounty hunter. He represents and he's working for the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Not the U.S. And you'll see in the next clip. Next. So he's a bounty hunter, this German. Now he's legally purchased Django. And they just walk into a bar. And the dude in the bar freaks out, get this nigger out of here. Then all of a sudden we don't know what happened, and the bar guy just runs down to the shop, and the German guy says, "Make sure you get the sheriff, not the marshal." Key. Boris, what does that mean?
Common law.
Say again.
Common law jurisdiction, authority over that region.
Right.
Common law authority.
So the sheriff has common law authority over the region because he's elected by the people. That's constitutional. The marshal, as you know, the U.S. Marshal is a company officer. He works for a corporation. He's an agent for a company. Lesson number 2, or 3, 4, 5, whatever number that is. Anyway, he's the sheriff, okay? So he goes in and he goes, "Get your sheriff." The sheriff comes. "All right, guys." Bam. And they have this standoff outside. Right? Go to the next one and go back really quick. Okay, go back. They stand outside. And you know what? The German man, whose name is Dr. Schultz, I'm going to call him by his name. Dr. Schultz just walks up to him and shoots him. Pow! In front of everyone. Pow! Dead. Right? Then he goes, "Now you can go get the marshal." Goes and gets the U.S. Marshal, who comes with a whole bunch of deputized people all staring guns at him. He comes out with Django. Before he comes out with Django, he says, seeing that he's talking to the U.S. Marshal, is like, "Come out, you know what I mean, with your hands up," and blah, blah, blah. Dr. Schultz says, "Can I be assured, seeing that you're a man of law, that when I walk out of here with my hands up, you will not shoot me down like a dog in the street?" The U.S. Marshal says, "Like you shot our sheriff?" He's like, "Yes, exactly. Guarantee me that you will not shoot me down in the street like a dog, like I just shot your sheriff." He's like, "Okay, all right, I'm not going to cheat the hanging squad in my town," he says. So him and Django come out. Django at this point doesn't know what the hell is going on. He's tripping out himself, right? So he's holding a piece of paper in his hand, Dr. Schultz, and he explains to this U.S. Marshal that, "You elected this guy as your sheriff about, what, 2 years ago?" They're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, well, who you think is sheriff, blah, blah, is really bandit, blah, blah, who steals, and blah, 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 and there's a warrant out for him, dead or alive." And I swear at the time I didn't know, and I was reasoning with Brother Tesla. And he said, "Yeah, the reason how people get on bounties is when they don't show up for court or trial. Now they become outlaws. That's why they're outlaws. Not because you're accused of a crime. You could be accused of something, and whatever, you show up to court, you're still in law. What makes you an outlaw is when you run away. And you say, "Pick that trial. They don't have internet. They're not going to know where I am." And that's the example he gave me. Right? So, and real, like, no, they're not using satellites then. Like, just take off and go. That's what made an outlaw. Therefore, you are outlaw. Therefore, human rights don't apply. That's why a bounty can go get you. And that's what that Hulk Hogan looking guy named the Bounty Hunter Dog guy is doing on national TV. He's just a common person. He's a person, not even defined, natural or corporate. He's just a person. And he's going around and he's cleaning up mess that people are not cleaning up for themselves. So all these people that are skipping trials and skipping things, in actuality, you are guaranteed due process of law according to international law. But we're now running away from that. I'm not going to court. I'm not going to trial. I'm not going to do all the things. You see the game. So the point is that what Moors are learning how to do is, if we are dragged into their courts under threat, terrific coercion, we know how to handle ourselves. All right, JJ, our brother in here, he's working hard. He's a big pioneer in this territory. That's the word. Into how you stand up to the de facto governments, because they're de facto, they're fraud, they don't exist. Like that sheriff is de facto. He's not a real sheriff. That's the point. Bob Marley says, I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy, if you now understand what he means by that song. Right. So, meaning is, we have a de facto sheriff. We have a de facto person in the government. That's who needs to get out. Because the other people, the deputies, they don't know what the hell's going on. Hence, these policy enforcers, Justice can attest to that. These guys don't know nothing. These policy enforcers are dumbed down on purpose. Next, please. So he was dumbed down like he doesn't know what the heck is going on. This U.S. Marshal, and then after, so anyway, next. Because this word is typed on the bottom, at this point, everyone is looking down and watching Tennessee. Okay? But look on the top right corner. Okay? This is a store, and the next scene, they end up in this store. There's no store owner or nothing like that. Hold on, go to the next one. Okay, go back. Okay. That was, oh, yeah, okay, good. Now, after the next picture, okay, oh yeah, that's why I put it in there. This is the science in which they pull. Okay? Everything after this, if you're not careful, you're going to dismiss it. Because you're going to think house nigger. And be like, oh gosh, house nigger, oh, we don't like them. Okay, so let's go. Everything after means nothing. Or everything out, right? So go again. Classic scare tactic. This is what they did then if they did this. And this is part of the movie where he's thinking back to where he was being scared. And at this point, his so-called slave master who had him as a prisoner was just telling him that he's going to split him and his wife up. Sell his wife there and sell him there. Classic tactic. So a lot of this trade where we're coming in on boats and stuff, the statistics factually tell you that most of the trade went from the Americas to the Americas. It's just shifting people around, and even according to their documents, taking people from Africa was the most worst business ever. They stopped doing it. It was stupid. It made no sense business-wise. They were losing money. It made no sense. They will tell you in their own slave history documents, the same places that they're saying that, oh, we took Africans from all these millions of Africans. Well, you're not realizing, but then they said it only lasted from 1580 to 1610 or 15. The only time they ever took African slaves. Out of this whole 400 years, we're not paying attention. So, because they throw these things, they purposely design your history. That's black history. Next, please. So, okay, we're going to get to the spot, the point where I was talking about the clothing store. Just to know, this Dr. Schultz owns a slave and he's pouring his slave coffee. That goes to show you, it's not a European versus more thing. This is a business. This is a scientific war. He's German. He's supposed to be from the most Nazi racist place on the planet. Everyone's scared of that because of Hitler. But this guy comes in here and in the movie he says, I'm not into that slavery. It's a stupid business. It's stupid. He's so much, and you're going to see by the end of it, his mentality versus slave master mentality. Next, please. Here, Django tells him about his wife. And his wife is named Broomhilda van, sorry, for the record, Broomhilda Van S something. Okay, I'll get you the name in a moment. Broomhilda is her first name. He's right here freaking out. I'm like, what? and she speaks German? So you're telling me that your wife is named Brumhilda and she speaks German? He's freaking out because Germany's most popular myth story, the top of top myth story, is about this man named Siegfried, who, whatever what happens and all, there's a mountain in the story or whatever he was saying, but he was saying that his love for his woman. So anyways, woman was like taken away from him or whatever, and then his job was to rescue her, to be the hero, to save the day. You know, the typical story, right? Keep this in mind. He's freaking out, but then the scene cuts. No one knows why he's freaking out, right? But he's saying, what? Are you serious? So go on. Brumhilde von Schack from Germany. His thing is, how coincidental is it that you want to go save your wife, whose name is Brumhilde, who speaks German, and it's the biggest German story that there is. So he's freaked out about this. There's something that he's seeing. This is giving you the reason why is this German man doing anything for this man. Alright, if you look around too, you'll see some pictures that actually our brother Sheldon L. in Germany takes, and there's more stuff all over the place. Beers are named Moors. It's not a secret. The pharmacy is named Moor. They know of their healing comes from Moors. It's not a mystery. It's only North America where we have these things confused. So they're sitting inside this house nigger store, right? So he says he's now telling him a story. They now want to go save Brumhilde, his wife. Dr. Schultz says, okay, I'll make a deal with you. You work with me. No, I'm not going to get there yet. They don't know that yet. So bam, they're on their way he asks him to be a bounty hunter with him. Okay? He says he'll give him 1/3 of his share, and when they're done their hit list, he will give him his freedom and help him get back Brumhilde. Okay? So they're in the store, and he's telling him this, and he's like this, right here at this point, exactly at this point, he's saying, one moment. Not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm going to go off the top of my head if this can't find it right now. Enter. Okay. Alright, here we go. And so Django asked him, so when do we go to this plantation? Just to find their next hit, their next bounty. Dr. Schultz says, right here exactly, you'll be putting on an act. And you'll be playing a character. Right then, Django does this. Next. Morris. Go back. Okay. He says you'll be putting on an act and you'll be playing a character. Right then, Django puts down this black hat, and out of all the hats up there, takes up the red top hat. Morris. If you don't know already, the top hat is a rendition, if that's the word, of the fez. Fact. That's what it is, the top hat. That's what we're saying. Oh, okay, yeah. Top hat. Yes, man. Right? So the point is that is a bit, and not just because it looks like it. It is actually, factually, a variation of a fez so that they could wear this in the street. Because remember, they can't wear the fez in the street. The secret. So they can now walk around with it. So there was a secret of those who saw the next man in it knows, and they give him the nod. You're in the secret. That's high society. Thank you, Mark. That's it. So how coincidental, right at the time when he says you're going to have to play a character, and then he puts on the top hat, and then he makes a gesture like, yeah. As he turns and looks at him, he makes a gesture like, yeah, that's the hat. So here's the subliminal. He's saying that this is what happened to us. Without that hat, we're playing this role, and haven't been breaking this role. He's been playing a role too in it. This is the Masonic secret. It's a charade going on. But family, as we go through the rest of it, you're going to hear why. It's not as simple as it seems why there's a charade going on. All right? Quote unquote Moors are just not these weak, loving, kind-hearted people that can't fight. And Europeans are not this dominating people that just eat everybody in their path. That doesn't work like that. It wouldn't work in a small setting. How could that work in a large setting? The same ratio. So this is what's happening. Next clip. He then says, so if you're going to play a character, you got to pick out your own costume. Django turns and says, you going to let me pick out my own clothes? Another hint. Doing things on your own accord, your own culture. Also, by this point, I'm a little bit like, yo, what's going on? I'm tripping over the big top hat, and it's highly likely that this is a fez right here in a box. I don't know. I'm not going to pass something off as fact. That's not. But it's highly likely for in every movie, this shirt was strategically positioned that way. This was strategically there. That pillow strategically there. Everything, the way I was hair, everything is strategically planned. They do cuts. No, not good enough. Cut. No, not good enough. They'll go all day to get it perfectly right. So, next. This is the clothes he picked out. I even remember laughing. I was like, ha, 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 ha. And then after all, I'm like, hold on. Actually, isn't that Moorish clothing? Isn't that Moorish clothing? Okay, if you don't know, that's Moorish clothing. Spain. Where Spanish get their style from. You know what I'm saying? Tight pants, sorry, y'all. I'm not really into it personally, but we did introduce that. The shoes. Othello. Aaron the Moor. That's our clothes. Not to mention the style of beard he has through the whole movie. I forget the name that they call it, but it's known as the Moorish beard. The way that you see, and a lot of people are cutting it that way nowadays. Rick Ross, that's the style. You see that. Brother has it right here too. Next, please. Now, I just had to throw in there because this guy is just funny. This guy was whom they're one of the bounties, one of the people whom they're looking for. In the past, he whipped Django's wife and all kind of stuff. So he can't wait to find these dudes, right? To help for the bounty. I just wanted to point out, this guy had scripture writing all on him and all kind of stuff and sweating and all that kind of stuff. But do you know why he can do this? Because the whole time he's there prancing and going on about the Lord says he will wrap on all the beasts of the field and all that kind of stuff. Because he's considering not her a human being, but an actual lawful piece of property. This is why. It's not because her skin is dark. It's because he has a economical interest. He has a contractual grip on her. But she's unfortunately ignorant enough to know who she was. Until they see Django step up, everyone's like, what is that? Anyway, go on. Please. I just like this scene. He got shot in the scriptures. Sorry. Anyway, he got shot and he couldn't believe it. I was just pointing out the fact that, holy, Like, and did I just get, he can't even believe it, that a brother is in a suit with a gun shooting. That he even didn't believe it when he got shot. Go on. So then now, the agreement. Recognize the handshake? This is the trust agreement. Every time you see those clasped hands, they even gave you an example in this movie where he said to him, Dr. Schultz said to him, he goes, okay, this has double meanings, Morris. Okay, for one level it means one thing, but then Morris are going to be like, yeah, but it also means another subliminal. Dr. Schultz says to him, again, they reaffirmed their deal. I'll give you a third of of our savings. We're now partners, right? And I have now given you your freedom. So as of this point, he's free. In fact, he introduced him to the people as Django Freeman. But one warning. He turns to him and says, and then Django says, well, why do you care to help me? He turns and says, well, since I freed you, I feel partially responsible for you. So, just to know, freedom is great, but you must attain it on your own accord. You ask somebody else to free you, you're not free because they're going to do the same thing even out of goodness of their heart because they don't know. They feel partly responsible for you afterwards. You know why? Because they freed you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You let a budgie out the cage, you're responsible for that budgie now. So, UCC people, sovereignty movement people, be wary of their similar talk. I'm not saying what they're doing is bad, completely bad, or nothing like that. But what they're coming on, if you're not careful, is they're trying to get you to ask somebody for freedom. Okay? We were great with all the fighting back, but this was the problem. Freedom cannot be given onto an indigenous people. I just sounded like Taj right there. Holy, I'm watching a lot of Taj. Anyway, next. This is the trade. So, Morris. He walks up, after he comes out of the play, they show this big, I should have got that, of him in now a cowboy suit. And if you know more than the original cowboy, you know that story already, right? Okay, this is where the cowboys came from. Individuals who bought their freedom or whatever are now lone rangers. And now they're out on their own and they got stuff and they're still fighting. They're like maroons. Right? Django has his own saddle. He's getting a new horse, and he takes off the saddle that was already on it, next, throws it to the side, and then puts on his own saddle. And at this time, the song that's playing in the background is, give me one sec. The song that's playing in the background, I just don't want to say it wrongly. I have a name. Hold on. I gotta repeat that one because that one hit me sweetly. The song in the background is and it's on the soundtrack. If I don't see it right now, I'm gonna pass. What? Okay, and that's it. Yeah. Anyway, that's the song. I have a name. No. Yeah, I have a name, and he's talking about it. I use it as my daddy did, and so on and so forth. So what they're actually saying is, and then go to the next one. Because his saddle has his name on it. This is him expressing his right to travel if you haven't figured that out already. You can't ride in someone else's saddle, but then you're driving. You're working for someone else. He knows himself. He knows who he is. If he dressed himself up like that, if he put that top hat on and gave him a look, and the man went, yeah. Django knows who he is. Is it just Django who knows who he is? Or is it that anybody you put in that position, any one of those brothers and sisters put in that position, they start empowering themselves, they would dress themselves up the same way. Because they're thinking back to the old stories of what they heard of who they were. They were kings and queens, they were rulers. Even more so. Watch when we go on. Next, please. So, this is Mississippi. This is showing you that it's not a color. It's not a skin color war. It may become that if we're not aware of what's going on, but there's 3 levels in here. There's the European. There's Django on this horse now, right? And then there's slavers being walked through normally without any shackles, but then there's those that are shackled. Recognize that this is transportation, not necessarily just that's what everybody's doing every day, all day. They're showing that there's different scenarios going on at the time. Go back one. All while, go forward, all while going on that side of the glass. But just separated by one thin piece of glass, Django's sitting like nothing. With a European, like nothing. So what is it? Something is going on. Something happened. It wasn't just black people became slaves and and they went and took Africans and Something is going on here, and maybe if you watch this again, when you watch it again, you'll start to get the concept. So,
Yeah, I just seen that.
what does it say?
Land record, assessor, title search.
Right. At that point, nice one. That point, they went to look for the books of where they could find Broomhilda. Right? Where they can find Broomhilda. And they found out that she's on one of the biggest plantations known in actual history, called Canaanland. Which is in Virginia. Everyone ever heard of that place? Next, please. So, oh, I missed it. As they get up to the Candyland door, darn it. Yeah, there's the bust head, but anyway, yeah. If you see on the door, I got to put that picture in. They're at the Cleopatra house. Okay? You'll hear why. They're at the Cleopatra house, and when you go in, you see the bust of Nefertiti. When you find out about that head bust right there, there's ample amounts of exposing the conspiracy behind that bust. Like it actually got busted for being a fake, for actually trying to change her complexion. And if you don't notice that's where Moors talk about the origin of Fez and stuff like that, because this is her womb. An umbilical cord going around 360 degrees. But this is the concept that Moors, Divine and National Movement have been pushing from time. But all I need you to do is keep looking around because there's Blackamoor statues all over this so-called slave house. Next, please. Her name is Sheba. She's sitting there the whole time with facial expressions like this. Like, she knows something. Sipping the finest wine. Right? If you look to the right, go back one. You look to the right, there's a Blackamoor statue there, but the way they have one of the hands hiding the face. But there's another picture where you can actually see this picture a lot better. Next. I put this in because they call this Mandingo fighting. Okay, the inter-wrestling competition between plantation or whatever plantation. I put this in there because the man on the bottom is the slaver Candyman, Mr. Candy. That's his slave, Big Fred. On the top is some Spanish guy who's speaking Spanish to his slave this whole time. No. Next. So, after the Spanish slave loses, the Spanish man walks up to Django at the table. And this point, he asks him, "What's your name?" Django goes, "Django." The Spanish man turns to him and goes, "Can you spell it?" Django goes, D-A-N-G-O. No, DJNANGO. The D is silent. Next, he looks at him and goes, I know, and walks away. Spanish. Spanish know who the Moors are, right? All right. Spanish know who the Moors are. So what people are looking in the room at Django like, yeah, I know who you are, but this whole time our supremacy was been based off of your people not knowing who you are. Next. There's the Moorish, Blackamoor statue head that was covered up. That's Moorish, right? Or did I make a mistake?
No mistake.
All right. Turban, fez, turban, feather. Keep going. This is in their house. So, I'm sorry. They're at the Cleopatra Club. That's where the statue, the head statue was, now the Blackamoor statue. From here, they're now traveling, and he's transporting all of his Mandingo fighters, and they're going back to the headquarters, Candyland now. Pardon. Now they're going to Candyland. See? And this whole time they're going, Rick Ross's song comes on called 100 Black Corpses. The whole time, 100 black corpses, 100 black corpses. That's all it's just replaying. Hint, hint? All right. And I'm meaning that, remember, going back to the beginning, science and law is exact. It's particular. There's no, yeah, kind of, No. If we're going to scientifically dissect this, this is what's going down. Remember, it's a movie, so it's about subliminal. It's about images. It's about timing. Next, please. Now, as they're rolling up to Candyland, you see Samuel L. Jackson, who plays the head nigger at Candyland. He's so right. What was your opinion about him? About him when you saw him? I saw Uncle Ruckus all the way. I was like, yeah, man, that man hit. When he saw Django on the horse, he burst up the house. What the hell that nigga doing on the horse? Like he just freaked out, like scared, like, what do you mean? So anyway, but here's the thing, here it is. So they're on their way to Candyland up the driveway, and all of a sudden it clips and it shows Samuel L. Jackson in the house signing this check. Okay? This is Calvin Candy's check. Monsieur Calvin Candy, May 2nd, 1858. 68. Bank of Mississippi, Harris Seed Company is whom they're paying $68 to. And Samuel L. Jackson, whose name is Stephen, the house nigger, is signing his master's name? Okay, if you don't understand contract law, this doesn't happen. If I own a company and I just give Tesba my stamp signature, Tesba has the power. He's the one that does the deals in my name. What happens when you're a musician and you have a good song and you need to sell it? You got to find an agent or a music label or whatever like that is, a company, and whom to hire to do that part of the business. If they didn't go through, keep that in mind because we're going to go over that concept again. Okay? You hire if you have the product. In other words, if you're the plantation and you want to do business with other plantations, you must hire the trade man. That trade man, that middleman is actually, you need that middleman or you will not be able to sell your products to that company over there. The value of the middleman That's where the Jews get their thing from. They just be middlemen all the time. Agents. Working for, or like lawyers. I'm here for this person because this person can't speak for themselves. But they don't know better. So I'm here for. So I'm not even getting into that yet. So he's signing his name, right? He signs the name. Next. He then stamps over it, over the check. He then stamps it. So I'm waiting to see this check again after he stamps it, to see what he stamped. Next. I couldn't find what stamp. What did he stamp? What did he stamp? Cujo. What did he stamp? He stamped over the whole name, and it came back exactly the same. That means Samuel L. Jackson is signing Candyman's name. At first I was like, wow, he got so good at signing his master's name that he's that good. It always was Samuel L. Jackson's signature in the first place. When he going over it with the stamp, it stamped the R. And what does that mean, Morris? Morris, say it out loud.
All rights reserved.
All rights reserved. Sorry. I gotta find. I should have waited one more split moment. Go back. If I waited one more split moment, you would have been able to see that there is no R right here. Darn. That kind of looks, no, I don't like how that looks because it's an actual fact. I sat there with the pause image going back and forth, and there absolutely is no R right there where it should be. Go back.
What's interesting too is if you look in the first image,
Yeah.
there's an 8, 68, 68 above each other.
Yeah.
Then go to the second image, 65.
Good one. And I noticed.
Wait. When you add up the two numbers, it makes 65 and 68, right?
Wow. Islam. Okay. I also noticed there's different marking, but that was so. How could the editor make that mistake? If Omar can pick that up, you're telling me the editor of this
They
big.
don't make mistakes.
They do not make mistakes. Right. Even if you didn't notice that, that hits your subconscious because your subconscious picked that up. Thank you, Omar. Next, please. So all rights reserved. This is Candyland. Next. Sorry. Cleopatra Club. I didn't forget it. But that was supposed to be back there. So as you can see, the Cleopatra Club, and when they walked in, there was the Nefertiti, the Blackamoor statues all over the place. Is that a slap in the face or what? Or does it mean that that was our house and they just took it over? Next. Blackamoor statues. Next. This part. Who saw this movie? End of the sequence. So Django and Dr. Schultz show up and they make him an offer for one of their Mandingo fighters and the whole trip to get in the house because they're really trying to get Brunhilde. Right? Now, Samuel Jackson picks up on one and two things and he goes in the back and says, yo, Brunhilde, do you know that nigga out there, Django, you know him? And she's like, no, I don't know him. You know what I mean? But the night before, the German guy asked to see her in his room. You know how they do the things, right? And then had her as like a comfort girl, and then she came to the room, and then he was just like, look behind the door, and then Django showed up and she fainted. So she knows Django's there to save her, right? So they're trying to play calm and cool. Stephen or Samuel Jackson picks it up, and from the point where he is introduced in the movie till here, he's playing. I mean, he is house slave to the max. Like he says one joke, ha 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 ha, yeah, this is the most annoying Uncle Ruckus. Like even me got emotionally upset, and that was the point. It was to get you emotionally upset so you didn't really see what was really going down in these scenes. Right? So he's playing the whole coon thing. When he figures out that these two are not here to buy Mandingo fighters, but they're here to save Brumhilda, he in the midst goes, Master, can I see you in the kitchen for a moment? You know what I mean? That's all kind of, and he's just like, bro, what? They can't handle nothing in the kitchen? I don't feel like getting up. Get out of my face, Stephen. Dealing with him like a true slave. He then goes, in the mid-stride, meet me in the library. All of a sudden, like he just got cold on him and said, yo,
Only he could hear.
meet me in the library. Next one. Exact here. Meet me in the library now. Told him. And then all of a sudden, next. Oh, sorry, go back. I didn't do it, but I showed. I took a picture of his face. He's like, oh shit, I just got pulled. I just got pulled up. So they go into the back room, and Samuel Jackson, his own complete 180-degree turn. From slave master, he goes in there and Samuel's doing Samuel L. Jackson now. Sitting there like, nigga, what's wrong with you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you think these people are like, you know what I mean? But talking down to DiCaprio. What I mean, and if you look, go to the next one. If you study body language, who's the authority here?
Yeah.
Study body language. Actually, Google it, and one of the first things that they'll show you is this. Content. It's even a Masonic seat. On the edge, I gotta prove something. That's the purpose. I messed up. Because in that scene, he's cussing him to say, you're stupid. And he's begging him, how? Huh? Like, it was the most 180-degree turn I ever seen. I'm wondering, okay, wait, hold on. So who really runs the show? And what happened to make things look, what happened to make them want to put on the charade? The character that he spoke about earlier. There's something that made that happen. There's a reason why this character role is played. Because through the whole movie, he's pompous. And he's all like this. You should hear him in this conversation. The normal, living, like Titanic guy. Like the normal, just, huh? Yeah? No, there was not, they made sure they made this the point. Okay? Next. Then he goes back out, enraged. You know what I mean? Back to his pompous ways again. To show you that's just an act. Right? Pulls out this skull after showing his pinky ring. Which is what? Masonic. Pulls out this skull, which is what? Masonic. It's a Masonic ritual. They did the same thing to Geronimo and so on. This is a Masonic ritual. He pulls out that skull and begins to tell the story of who that skull is. That skull is named Big Ben.
Yeah, right.
For those who know the whole thing about the Mason and the clock, that's who the man is. That's who the man, Big Ben, who they're saying is Benjamin Franklin when there's no such person, but it's really Benjamin Banneker Bay. And this is his flag over there that says Ben Day. Alright? But that's the subliminal. I'm not saying that is Benjamin Banneker, but his name is Big Ben. They could have called him Big Charlie, but why Big Ben? They're telling you something. Thank you. That's I just forgot. The story now is Big Ben is the predecessor to Samuel L. Jackson or Stephen. He's the one who took care of his grandfather. No, who raised his grandfather. He says it. My father and myself. He sits there and he says, what? I've been raised around black faces my whole life. That's all I know. But one thing gets to me. So he says in the scene, why don't they just kill us? I'm asking you the same question because that's the answer we're going to get to. Why don't we? Why don't that? He's saying it. Why don't they just kill us? Big Ben, for 50 years, 3 times a week, used to shave his dad and grandfather's beard with the sharpest of knives. He said, if it was me, I would have slit my father's throat and it wouldn't have taken me 50 years to do it. He's in this scene. Digest that. So then he's upset right now because he's like, a lot of lies have been told around this table, but I can guarantee you this is not a lie. And he saws off the back of the head of this skull and he begins to tell the most ridiculous and stupidest scientific enlightenment that he has is that in the back of the skull, there's 3 dimples. And in the African skull, the 3 dimples, where it is, it's pushing up against the part of your brain that deals with submissiveness. So that's why Africans are submissive. But someone like Einstein, the 3 dimples, you would find it in the most creative part of his brain, in his skull. So that's why he's an intellect. So what the point was is like this guy is the biggest slave owner on the whatever. He's dealing with most slaves, but he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Does he really know who these people are who he's enslaving? Does he really know, for someone who's the master of the business, does he really know the product in which he's dealing with? No. Next, you're going to see why. Then, they're selling Broomhilda. He got upset and said, I'm not selling you no Mandingo fighter, but for that 1,200 you're going to buy that Mandingo fighter for, you must buy Broomhilda or I'm not letting you guys go, I'll shoot you guys. So they were like, yeah, fine, we'll buy Broomhilda for 12,000. And he's like, cool. That's doing business with y'all. So they're now sitting down drying up the papers. One second. Yeah, drying up the papers for Broomhilda. Oh shoot, I didn't get it. And they showed a piece of Broomhilda's certificate in which, like the bill of sale. And on it, it specifically says her name. It says the name of the state to Broomhilda. And it's telling her underneath that she's registered somewhere as a colored person. So they have people registered as colored people. That's why someone could come along and so-called buy your freedom, because it's just about producing a counter claim to that already claim that we've registered with somebody. Right now it's our birth certificate. It's our driver's license. But the point is like you can know it, but the fact is that when we weren't there, somebody created a contract and said you signed it. That's what your birth certificate is, and that's what your driver's. That's the problem. Next. Sorry, go back. Right now, as they're signing, next one, sorry. As they're signing it, guess what music she's playing? Beethoven.
Tobin Bay.
Who was actually Tobin Bey. And if you know Beethoven's story, he's a brother, he's a Moor. Like it's known, it's a fact. He's a Moor. They know it. He gets upset as he's sitting there and the Dr. Schultz, and he gets upset and he jumps up next and goes, could you stop playing Beethoven? He's upset because they're going back and forth with signing the thing and all this. And yeah, what he's thinking about, how he saw a slave get eaten by he tried to save a slave and then the slave got eaten by some pit bulls, and he's just tripping out now like this is messed up. Like this is like how to figure you gonna enslave these people and you're playing, and that's what he said, and you're playing their music. You think that was deep? Go to the next one. Sorry, go back. So yeah, so we'll stop here. So you're playing their music. Then I'm gonna have to say this because I'll just say it. Then it gets to a point. Then after he walks into the library, right? DiCaprio follows in after him and goes, "Are you what? Are you upset the fact that I got the best of you?" He's like, "Actually, nah. I'm just sitting down thinking about what Dumas would think about you right now. Dumas would think about you right now." Yeah. If you can, go to, you know what? We're going to watch it. Yeah. So it's in the thing now? Ah, it's right here. No, it's in there. Yeah. And I remember it's at 2:03. Alright, 2 hours and 3 minutes. Actually, yeah, I couldn't repeat this. I couldn't repeat this. This has to be watched. That's not it. Oh, it's in this one. No. No, it's not this. Do I have it in my computer? Yeah. I did take it out, right? I had it ready for this one. So, alright. And then, you know what? I'm going to go into the next clip while he sets it up. So this picture where you're seeing Samuel Jackson sitting right here, he explains to him the breakdown, because by this point, they have Django hung upside down, and the rest I don't even need to explain. If you saw the movie, it was disgusting, right? And then he almost got castrated, and then all of a sudden, the Candyman, the girl, whatever, said they're going to sell him, whatever, so they didn't cut off his things. And then Samuel sits down and he starts explaining to him, like, this is what they're going to do to you. Because since you're a free man, or not a free man no more, they're going to send you to another location. They're going to change your name. They're going to give you work. You need a sledgehammer, and you're going to work all day, every day. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. That's kind of like what, like, even your family will pressure you and make you feel a way like you're not working. Oh my God, you're not fitting that mold, that very slave master's projected mold. That's how sick our society has become. When our parents are afraid for our safety, that they'd rather us be just conform, just be, no problem. That's been our problem from time. Like that's just the problem. So the point is, whose plantation? Okay, when if Europeans, if Candyman was not always here, Candyman's family came at a specific time. They came to a place. If that place is already a plantation, if it's the biggest plantation, could it be that people were in power? I mean, this happens to every other country on the planet. People are in power. They start losing power for whatever reasons amongst themselves. They could be fighting amongst themselves. They could be abusing it, whatever. Someone else comes in who's better at the business. For example, we have all kind of artists and musicians and rappers and stuff, so we're really doing it. But because we're so non-business minded, we can't even sell and make deals amongst each other. So we got to go hire Candyman. Because they, at the time, got the trade down properly. Just like right now, if you want a convenience store or whatever, you can see that the agents have really gotten into that market and they're dealing with it. You want to deal with massage therapy, you see the Koreans really got into it. When you with Reiki, you see the Japanese really got into it. Martial arts, you see it already. So we're at 203. All right. So this is. We got speakers on this. Hold on. And they're upstairs, on the desk upstairs. So on the front desk. This is the movie? This don't look like Django. Oh, it is. No? Yeah, this is Push, man. You want... Yeah. Play with Toshiba. Yeah. So, point is, if you, like, for example, right now, all the musicians is all about owning your own thing, right? Doing your own thing. So you can see that is exactly what's been happening from time. We were running our own businesses, and then all of a sudden, we stopped. You want to know another fact? Go Google. Who were the slave masters in North America? 95% of the slave masters are factually Moors, black, or what they call black or African people. Did we realize that? In the United States, what they call the United States of America, in the States, all on record, because slavery time was the most recorded time in history. Don't let them fool you on that one either. It's all recorded. But they tell you it wasn't because they're telling you some fake story that has no history, has no story to it. That's why they say it wasn't recorded. Those are the most recorded points in history. That's when the whole world was navigating across the planet. That was recording time. That's how information got across the planet, through records. Printing presses came out and all this kind of stuff. That's a lie. 204. We're at 250. Yeah, all right, play. So this is our, now he's, all right, just play. So writing a bill of sale for Broomhilda. Pause. That's what I was trying to show you. Okay. Though they've cut out some parts. So you'll see the state of Mississippi, city of Greenville, 2, Morris, Broomhilda Von Schacht. Something, because it was cut off, color, who was herefore registered, something, the said city. This day delivered up, something, and applied for renewal of, is now of the following description. We're definitely dealing with property, and we're definitely dealing with somebody registered somebody. And we know in Morris Teach and we're learning about this registration thing. Be careful on whom you contract with. Because if you're talking about, I don't know, they threw this driver's license on me. Now, really, you took the registration form and you signed it. Right. Thank you. Play, please. So if it was about buying freedom, it's just about money. Business-wise, we're not doing our thing. So we got to hire foreigners or hire other people to be the middlemen for us. And then they take advantage of our weakness. Not really their fault. Why are we doing it for ourselves? So this is him tripping out. And pay attention to the seal too. And then, you got time? Yeah, pause.
What we should realize is it seems like it's taking so long for registration of a person to go from
Tried to save that guy. Couldn't. Seal? Pause it at the seal. Okay, but you saw something there. Nah, it's more like, to me, it looked two different things. Either a bolt or some kind of scimitar kind of thing. And just stayed for Looks like a moon, like the crescent. Something. Maybe a boat. Boat with the flag staff. Definitely some kind of crescent, right? Where they get these seals from? I'm going to repeat the quote after it's done.
Okay. You really want to make it the best of it. Actually, I was thinking that we're definitely fit to the dogs today. And I was wondering what the aunt would make from this.
Pause. He asked, and just, I know it's something you heard already, but just to reiterate, remember what he's having flashbacks of? He's saying, he's asking Candyman, thinking of what you did to that brother with the dogs earlier. What would Dumas, and when he named the brother's name, he said, what would Dumas think of all this? Alexander Dumas is the author of the Three Musketeers, in which he named his slave actor, the character actor. Sorry, after a character in his book. But Alexander, sorry, go on. Alexander, the author of the Three Musketeers.
I figured he must be admiring. He named his slave that. And I was wondering what the aunt would make from this. And it's only he broke trees to pieces. I figured he must be admiring. He named his slave that is not his being carried. If Alexander Dumas had been there, I wonder what he would have made of it. He doubted the food.
And some more. and pause. You see? He has no respect for Candyman because Candyman is in there. Candyman doesn't even know what he's doing. Right. Candyman, though, he's laughing at it. He's been sick the whole time. This guy's playing Beethoven. He's naming his slaves after Moors. He's Eskimo Joe. What the heck is a brother named Eskimo? I thought they were two different people. This guy knows nothing. For example, if you notice at the beginning, the German guys, like one of the house people were like introducing him to Candyman. They're like, okay, well, call him like some French, just Monsieur or something like that. And then they're like, okay, he's French. He's like, no, he's not French. He just likes how it sounds. This Candyman's a clown. Doesn't know what he's doing. If you're in the industry, you should be a master of that industry. And that's what's so disgusting. That's what the Germans so disgusting about is like, how could you, my fellow brother, making me look bad because you're supposed to be like you're a slave yourself. Because he doesn't know that. He didn't even know he's coincidentally naming his slaves after the civilizers of Europe. And he doesn't know what he's doing. So you can't have respect for someone like that. You can't have a trust agreement. Hence, after this, Candyman says you can't leave until you shake my hand. He's like, I'm not shaking your hand. Candyman's like, well, I don't care about all the paperwork in the South. Nothing's done until we shake hands. Like, all he wants to do is shake hands so bad. For what? There's a science behind it. There's an agreement. And he did not want to make an agreement with this guy because this guy's not trustable. He doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't know whom he's slaving in. But how do you think people look at us? If we don't know who we are, you think they're going to trust us? Islam? Hotep, peace, love. So, next time you watch the movie or you're showing someone the movie, use it as a point of reference to bring up some very touchy topics that are the elephant in the room. But give it 2 years, there'll be Hidden Colors Part 5. That's going to be talking about all of this, and it's going to be standard knowledge. So, as either you take the red pill or the blue pill, right? And I know I'm a little excited right now, but honestly, there is a real thing going on, and if we're not careful, we're going to sit here and bash movies like this because of the emotionalism that's attached to it. That didn't even probably exist. Or exist in the way that it's been sold. Alright, if we want a future, we're going to have to take control of our story. Because history and law are synonymous. You want to know, you want to represent yourself lawfully, honor your mother and father so your day may be long upon the earth. Islam?
Islam.
Alright, so honestly, hopefully, the whole Black History Month concept can throw out the door. Okay, we're Moors 24/7, 7 days a week, 12 months, 13 months a year, whatever calendar we want to follow. That's our history months. Alright? Where there's not a black people, there's not a green history month or a red history month. I know it sounds like simple, but it makes sense out of nonsense. Alright, so any questions, comments? If I was incorrect about anything, I take full responsibility and I will correct it my next opportunity. Yeah.
What's your final conclusion on this?
Good. My personal final conclusion, my opinion, from what I see, is that that there was a overthrow. Not just, oh, bam, they're slaves now, they've been slaves, or there's something wrong with the people. They're destined or determined to be saved, that there was actually an establishment that we started and couldn't maintain. It's like starting a music industry and then not maintaining it. And then other people come in and then they start running it properly.
When you say we didn't maintain it, you said we didn't touch the nature people we are dealing with today.
I think
we were a little bit too nice.
Nah, I think it doesn't matter. I think it's the whole planet is yin and yang. There's positive and negative in everything. Within us, there's positive and negative. We can't go down unless we bring ourselves down. So I'm not going to blame an outsider. I'm ultimately, at the end of the day, going to blame myself because I put myself there or I set up that scenario. Not to ignore what's happening, but the solution comes from within.
You can't ignore what needed. You can't ignore our will.
Both. Yin and yang. Right. So the point of healing is not to sit there and point the finger, but to see both, the whole story, the agreement. What broke the agreement? So think in yourself, are you carrying out your agreement? No, because we're operating in alien names. We're trying to steal their inheritance. You get it? Yep. That's why they don't trust us. All right? Proclaim your nationality, take back your estate, take back your possessions, and sue them for everything that you were violated on. Right? Because fraud is not fraud until it's challenged. Fraud is not fraud until it's challenged. That's why Django means I'm now awake. Django? Django. Islam. All right. And now, our Grand Sheikh Kujo Adwa L. Round of applause. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, fam. It'll be up there. Jeez. Islam. All right, yo. So we're on the last hour. Right. So we're just gonna pretty much finalize everything by bringing everything that was talked about today right back to the Prophet and Noble Ali and what the whole point of all this is. First thing, last year, late 2011, early 2012, the many mayors across the states put out proclamations talking about the Moors and what our position is. Right. This is last year, late 2011 to 2012. So these are all the states whose mayors put something out. So Chicago, Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska Mayor Jim Smith. Tacoma, Washington, Mary Strickland. Charlotte, North Carolina, Anthony R. Fox. Baltimore, Maryland, Stephanie Rawlings. Fayetteville, North Carolina, Anthony G. Chavon. Lynchburg, Virginia, Joan F. Foster. And the proclamation reads as follows, because it was a standard proclamation that all of these mayors put out, and then they signed on it too to show that, right, that it's legit. Whereas the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamathites, and Canaanites who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later form themselves kingdoms extending from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands onto the present-day continental Americas. And whereas the indigenous Moorish peoples of the Americas are now united in order to again link themselves with the family of nations, and whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North, Central, and South America, have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the command principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, through virtue of the universal right to self-determination, as with the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples guaranteed in the Charter. And whereas on January 8, 1865, Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina, destined to become the first patriot of his mentally enslaved Moorish American people. In 1912, he was later anointed as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali by the heads of Egypt and the holy city of Mecca to return to the United States as the last prophet and founding father of the newly risen nation of Moorish Americans. As a result of the 13th Amendment, Moorish people were emancipated from slavery in 1865. Now therefore, I, Marilyn Strickland, Mayor of the City of Tacoma, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim this week of January 8th to 15th, 2012 as Moorish American Week in the City of Tacoma, and I urge all residents to recognize the events planned for this time. Witness thereof my hand and official seal of the City of Tacoma, Washington on this 4th day of January 2012. Marilyn Strickland, Mayor. So that's one of like 11 mayors or something like that, right? And all of them are basically, admitted that what Noble Drew Ali said was right, right? There was one. It said that there's one mayor that recanted their proclamation, right? So maybe there's 10 mayors that put out these proclamations, and if we check out how many people, so-called Negro, Black, Colored, African, Black Power, Nation of Gods and Earths, Nuwapians, whoever, talk about those proclamations. How many people other than Moors you hear talk about those proclamations right now? That's our history. That's some Europeans getting some letters from Moors that, Noble Drew Ali's birthday is coming up, January 8th. We're just sending you a letter just to see if you guys would, whatever. And then they're going and doing their own research and coming up with this stuff, right? And it's not hard to find because everything is online. And that's how they got it all. Like they went and did their own research. Just Google Noble Drew Ali, everything will come up that they said in this letter, right? Verifying that the Moorish Americans are the Aboriginal and Indigenous people of the Americas, right? If they're wrong, somebody should have been stepping up and saying, forget everything that those guys said, they're wrong. And nobody said anything. And a year passed, and that's the hottest information for Black history. That's the hottest information. Every single being that represents some type of Black idea supposed to be printing out those letters and passing them out to everybody who is in support of them. Right? Well, how come they're not doing that? How come these mayors put out these proclamations talking about the Moors being the Aboriginal and Indigenous people of the Americas and the adjoining islands, right? Saying that we're the Canaanites, Hittites, Moabites, all that. But these so-called groups, Negro, Black, Colored groups, they don't talk about that fact that these mayors put out there, right? This is why. Leaders who do not have such usable material in their dossiers have been approached to take government posts, mostly as ambassadors and primarily in African countries. The promise of these positions also has materially contributed to a temporary slowdown of minority activities. However, we do not expect these slowdowns to be of long duration because there are always new and dissident elements joining these organizations with the potential power to replace the old leaders. All organizations and their leaders are under constant 24-hour surveillance. Constant 24-hour surveillance. The organizations are the Black Muslims, the first group, Student Non-Violating Coordinating Committee, Congress of Racial Equality, Uru Movement, Group on Advanced Leadership, Freedom Now Party, United Black Nationalists of America, the New Pan-African Movement, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the National Urban League, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Committee on Racial and Religious Progress. 12 organizations listed in the military document called King Alfred Plan as the organizations that are under 24-hour surveillance with regard to the minority, right? Everybody's on the list except the Moorish Science Temple of America, which was infiltrated and was under 24-hour surveillance. So how come they didn't make the list? If they were just as infiltrated as all these other organizations out here. They didn't make the list in King Alfred Plan because a little bit further down in this document, it talks about the minority being a formidable enemy to the powers that be. And that he's a formidable enemy because he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. So this is the military coming now and saying that, well, we have infiltrators and agents in all these organizations that the minority belongs to and makes the claim like, well, because I'm belonging to this, then I'm definitely working on my salvation and I'm eventually going to get my salvation. When all those people that they talk to, all those heads are agents. COINTELPRO, FBI, CIA, whatever you want to call it, agents. They're in order to push that black idea on you and make you go with it. And then they're going to kill black leaders and then you'll even be on it more. Right? What were they talking about in the movie? That there was an overthrow. And people who didn't have power all of a sudden gained all this power. And the allies that they've created all across the world are now back in their fraudulent position. Right? But then the allies realize that these guys are fraud. And we can't back these guys anymore. Because if they fall, we fall because we're their allies. So all these countries around the world now are backing off from doing business with the U.S. corporation. Because everybody's starting to get wise to the fact that, yeah, that is a corporation. And not only is it a corporation, it's a bankrupt corporation that has no type of assets. The only assets they have are their slaves. Right? Which are mainly labeled minority. And on King Alfred's plan, minority is blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and 4 whites. So when you hear them talk about minority, right, they're talking about those labeled people. Say that again? Well, see, because a Puerto Rican is indigenous to the Americas, they're more.
But wasn't that just a medium? Just that okay, like all the outlets in Germany are
Right.
really different German
Yeah.
that are populated by African European and as well as indigenous people and people mixed together.
Right.
And then come under that banner of blue card of Puerto Rican or Trinidad and
Right. But them being categorized like that was done by the colonizer, not by them. That's why it becomes an issue. That's why you have the South American. If you look at all the South American countries and their coat of arms, they have the same 5-point star on their flag. You know, because all of them are republics that got overthrown. They're just like the movie's talking about. All these places were republics that got overthrown by the U.S. And then they had their agents. So like in Cuba, they had Batista, the go in, and then he was the agent that was trying to push the whole idea of democracy over here. And then Fidel caught on to it, and he's like, no, we're not even going there. Right? Same thing with Hugo Chavez. Right? And when they realize it, the most logical thing to do is to naturalize. Right? If you're a foreigner, you say, well, you want to be part of our thing, okay, we'll naturalize you. But after the naturalization process happens and you realize that you lost all your wealth through fraudulent contracts, right? The only option you have is to nationalize, to get all that stuff back that you lost. And this is where Noble Drew Ali comes in, and you know, us having to accept the reality that everybody's sold out. Everybody's sold out. Right? You look at so this is we'll start with the black Muslims, right? This is an article by Prince A. Cuba. According to history taught in the contemporary Nation of Islam, there is no connection between the Moorish Science Temple of Noble Drew Ali and the Nation of Islam. Taking nothing on face value, we shall examine that claim. The Universal Negro Improvement Association of Marcus Garvey has been effectively neutralized.
What was the name of that again?
Universal UNIA.
Which is what?
Universal Negro Improvement Association. Had been effectively neutralized by 1929 by the U.S. government. By the close of 1929, the Moorish Science Temple of America had become separated into 3 schisms after the founder Noble Drew Ali veiled the form. It is not until the summer of 1930, with the appearance of W.D. Farad, that we are given a date for the founding of the Nation of Islam, NOI. Of certainty, it is a fact that the NOI came into existence as an entity following the destabilization of both the UNIA and the MSTA. So when we do the history of the UNIA and the MSTA, we found out that, and there's a part of the museum right there, there's a postcard that got re-put into circulation with Noble Drew Ali writing a letter to his wife Pearl Ali when he went to visit Marcus Garvey and when he was in prison. Right? Garveyites don't even talk about it, which is a problem. Because with Noble Drew Ali going and visiting Marcus Garvey, something had to have happened between that meeting, because right after that, Noble Drew Ali Marcus Garvey got pardoned. And then they deported him. So these two brilliant minds can't come together. Right? Because Noble Drew Ali had the missing piece to everybody else's whatever that they claim, right? The nationality part. And then everybody else has everything else that Noble Drew Ali didn't bring. And what they're lacking is the nationality part. And they're going around the world and they're making all these claims that they're A, B, C, D, E, F, G without a nationality, which is you just void your position. Anything you say doesn't mean anything because you have no nationality. Right?
So that nationality is just in the very most basic term of what a nationality is. You know where you are born. Like with me, about a child here that comes from Canaanland.
Right.
So race and nationality are two different things.
Yeah.
So
Now let's